Okay, hopefully the lighting looks good. I've not filmed on this camera and filmed like a sit down video in a while, but I'm gonna be filming my birth story today. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I was waiting to get this chair in his room. I'm actually in his room right now. There's nothing in here except for like random stuff, and he's also sleeping here, so we'll see. I'm sure he'll sleep the whole time because he just ate. But I wanted to finally film this video for you guys because he is 2 months old already, and I just can't believe that I'm a mom, and I also can't believe that he's 2 months old. We had a very rough start to start all of this off. I was actually admitted at 33 weeks. So it was like I think it was like the 27th of May. I had a scare, kind of like I was in the living room, and I was on my birthing ball, and I was just kind of like editing and hanging out, and my blood pressure was high because I was like checking it, and so it was high, and I called labor and delivery, and I was like, hey, you know, like my blood pressure's high, I'm 33 weeks, like what should I do? And they were like, you should come in, and I was like, okay, but they were like, what were you doing to get it that high? And I was like, just chilling. So I had a great pregnancy, like the entire time. Nothing, I ever had no complications or anything like that. He was a super good baby in my belly and out now. But yeah, so anyways, I went to labor and delivery that night, and it was pretty late, like 10 I think, or like 9:45 I left the house. I brought my charger and whatever with me. I was like, cause you know, maybe they'll let me stay and just monitor me and figure out why it's high. So they did some blood work, and then I stayed for like 5 hours, but it ran into like the next day, and they were like, hey, we want you to come back every 3 days or every 2 days to do a NST, which is basically like the monitors that they put on your belly to monitor the baby and their heart rate and stuff like that. So I guess they saw his heart rate kept dropping into like what we have what am I trying to say? Our heart rates are pretty, you know, 90 over 100 or whatever, or 90s and 100s, and theirs are like up in the higher hundreds. And Caden's had dropped down to like 50s and 70s like one time when I was there, and so they were like, we want you to keep coming back just to like check. So the following day I went home after that, and blood pressure had gotten lower, but it was still like 145, but they were just still like, we don't know what's going on, so come back tomorrow, we'll do our first actual NST at labor and delivery. So I went there. My appointment was at like 2:15. They told me it was only going to take 20 minutes. So they had a technician come in and just basically do an ultrasound on my belly to see if the fluid and stuff like that was good in my belly, or in his sac or something like that. And I guess it wasn't like bad, but it was on the lower end. And he had another one of those D cells is what they call them. So he had 2 D cells in 48 hours, and they were just kind of like concerned. Either he was like squeezing the cord was around his neck, or he was laying on it and didn't realize it was cutting off oxygen to himself until obviously he would feel like crap, but didn't know why, because he is a baby. Obviously he didn't know. So yeah, they admitted me at 4 o'clock that day. It was Friday, I believe, and actually it was like it was a Thursday. They admitted me that day, and I stayed overnight. I don't think I had any D cells that night, but I had dinner there. I had my dad bring up like my pillow, my computer, my vlog camera, like everything. If you guys didn't watch the I was admitted at 33 week vlog, I'll leave it down below for you guys so you can check it out. But I didn't film too much when I was in the hospital because obviously I had no idea what was going on. I was very anxious the whole entire time because I just had no idea what was going to go on, if I was going to have Caden early or if I was going to go home. So it was the next morning. I guess he had a really bad D-cell when I was taking a nap because I really didn't sleep that night. You know, they come in so many times during the night to check on you. And I had woke up to all these nurses and like a doctor around me, and they were like, hey, good morning, like we're here to check on baby, like he had another D-cell, like he's doing okay, you're fine, whatever. But my best friend Mariah, her mom is my labor and delivery nurse that morning, so I was super happy to kind of like wake up to her. So I felt more comfortable knowing like I was in good hands and I was comfortable with her being my nurse. And because I had saw her the prior day, but we didn't think I was going to be admitted, but I was. And yeah, so they were like, yeah, baby like had a heart drop or whatever, heart rate drop. We're just checking on him. And so I went back to sleep, and then she was gonna come back to bring me breakfast. And then they like all ran in here again and they were rushing me to the OR. They're like, we're gonna have a baby right now because his heart rate's dropping and we can't get it up. And normally when the heart rate drops, their protocol is to like wiggle your belly or have you flip on your side so that you can get off of the cord, or the baby can get off the cord or whatever is going on in there. But they kept saying he was healthy, which made me feel better. But the whole like freaking out, you know, like they were getting all my gown off, they were getting things plugged in all over me to get ready to go to the OR, and they rushed me down to the OR. I'm on the table at 33 weeks freaking out because I'm like, dude, my baby's about to come. He's really early and I'm so scared to have like a NICU baby and in general to just have a baby early. Especially as like a first-time mom, you don't know what to expect. You don't know how the baby is going to be when they come out. But even though I kept asking them, I'm like, okay, is he going to be okay? Like, what's his condition? Whatever. So they're like, everyone pause, and they were like, his heart rate went back up. They had the monitor on my belly and his heart rate went back up to like 140, 150. And they're like, let's hold off. So I was like, oh, thank God. Like I wasn't ready to have a baby right now. And I don't want a C-section. I did not want a C-section at all. I was not against it, but I really just wanted to try and have a natural birth. I didn't want to go through all that because this whole time I've been pregnant, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have this birth. Like I just want this, this, and this. I'm scared to be cut on. I'm scared to go in the OR. I have way too much anxiety when I was pregnant. I didn't think I could go through the process of just sitting there knowing I'm getting cut on. I don't know. It was just in my head that I couldn't do it, but I knew that I could because I know that we are very strong and we can do anything. Anyone can if you just, you know, you set your mind to it. But I hadn't had enough time to process that he was coming and I knew he was going to be born early. So anyways, they sent me back to my room and a couple hours go by and the doctor who came in, her name's Dr. Miller, she was great. She came in and she just said, you know, I'm not comfortable with leaving you here because I want you to be in better hands if you were to go into labor early, or if we would need to take him out early, that you'd have you know, the ability to just go straight to the NICU. So the hospital that I had been seeing for all my OB appointments while being pregnant, they don't have a NICU there. So we went into an ambulance, me and Caden, he was in my belly. We rode down to another town, like 20 to 25 minutes from where we were, and they admitted me there. I got there kind of at nighttime, hung out. My mom stayed with me like the entire time, and it was very traumatizing because I thought, you know, I was gonna go home that day and just have a quick NST, and I thought I'd still have, you know, my time being pregnant. And, you know, good thing we had my baby shower like 4 days before that because I would have been super upset if we didn't have my shower. But me and my mom just hung out. They had gave me, I forget the name of the shot, but it's basically a shot they give you in your leg or in your butt to help the baby's lungs develop if they do come early. So it comes in 2 doses. So I had 1 dose at the first hospital, and then once I was transferred, they did my 2nd dose, and that one hurt way more. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just have to get over it because I'm about to have a baby, and this is gonna be worse pain than getting a needle in your butt. But I got them both in my legs. They were pretty sore, but the second one hurt worse. But you know, the whole thing was to get it done so that way if he were to come that weekend, which they said he would have came, that way his lungs would have been a little bit more coated and developed since he was 33 weeks. So yeah, I had COVID test done, IV done, hung out there every single day. I stayed there. I didn't get to go home. I stayed in the hospital, and every single day a doctor would come in. I had great nurses that were taking good care of me. He just had continuous heart decels every single day. Like they got worse and worse and worse. Like he was still healthy and fine, but he just kept dropping multiple times, and they just didn't know why. So they weren't gonna take him because they knew he was early. So I stayed in the hospital for a total of 2 weeks. But the first whole week I was there, like a week and a half, I was still pregnant, and what's it called? Oh, I'm trying to think. Kevin's in the kitchen cooking. I was making sure he's okay because he dropped something. I forget what it was. So we had a high-risk doctor who came in who said he was healthy, that I looked great. You know, he's like, I'm sorry you're cooped up in the hospital. Like my friend brought me like all this stuff to make me comfortable. You know, I got crossword puzzles and word searches. My mom hung out with me. We just kind of talked every day and FaceTimed my friends and family, and it was just like really weird to go from a very like fast-paced lifestyle, working every single day and knowing my pregnancy was perfect and knowing we had like 6 weeks left to meet Caden, and all the preparation that I had to do that I had not yet to finish things that I needed to do. I didn't get to finish everything. So my mom and Katrina, my best friend, hi Katrina, if you're watching this, I know you are, Lorenzo's mommy, she was so great and came here with my mom and did up my room and got all the stuff ready for Caden, because there's just so much you have to prep when you have a baby, and I was still working. I still had like a week and a half left of work, but I obviously had to go on leave early. So I did great in the hospital. I was fine. You know, I was getting really sick of the food that I was eating every single day, because it was like trays of like meatloaf and like tuna sandwiches, or like fish or like chicken sandwiches, and like just like on a dry bun. It was like the same French toast every morning, or like an egg and cheese spin. Okay, so my memory card had got full, and I also needed to zoom out so you can see my tree. But anyways, yeah, so the food was like the thing that was really getting to me. It was like I was so over eating the same food every single day. I hadn't had any fast food, nothing, no coffee, no different beverages. It was just ice water and like popsicles or ice chips. And at one point they didn't let me eat for like almost 40, it was 24 hours, but I was on an IV straight fluid for the whole entire time. We ran out of memory, so I had to get another memory card. But anyways, so yeah, the food was what was bothering me, but it was okay. I finally had went like almost 29 hours without eating, but I was on IV fluid. Every time he'd have a decel, they'd keep me on the IV fluid. And they'd give me oxygen, because like my heart rate, I would just like freak out every time. I'm like, oh, is he okay? Is he okay? Like, what's going on? Like, is he breathing? Like, you know, does he have a heart rate? Like, what's going on? And like the doctor explained, like his heart rate was never gonna just drop to 0, but it was literally in the 50s from 160. And I'm like, that's horrible. And like as time progressed, like the days I was there, they put me on bed rest. I had physical therapy in bed. I was not able to shower because they needed to monitor him 24/7. And then like a week and a half went by, and they were like, hey, like I kept asking him, like, can I take a shower? Like I feel disgusting. Yeah, I'm not doing anything, but I'm laying here and I feel gross. Like I got really sweaty. You know, I had all these, I had IVs in and all these cords and everything, because they just kept having to prepare me or have me prepared for a C-section, because that's what I signed to have, just in case like they needed to go and take him out right away. So yeah, anyways, it was great. You know, not a great time, but I mean, I was there, the nurses were great, the doctor's nice, the high-risk doctor was not very, like, he was concerned, but he was making me more comfortable and not thinking like there was something wrong with Caden. So just lots of TV, crossword puzzles. I slept a lot, because every time he'd have a decel, I feel like I would just be so drained, because I'm like freaking out and I'm on such high alert. So yeah, that happened, and then a couple days later I got sent to another room. Normally you don't stay more than 4 days in the labor and delivery, and I was there almost 2 weeks. So they sent me to a new room, and that room was really nice. I loved it. And that night Caden's dad was bringing pizza, and I hadn't had real food in a while, and I was like, I want pizza. So he's like, where do you want me to order it from? It was like some random pizza place. Super excited. That day I just wasn't feeling good. I had a lot of contractions this whole time. For some reason I kept having contractions. They were 30 minutes apart, but they were no near close to being active labor contractions. They were just contractions every time he would have like a heart decel. Like I just started having contractions, but they weren't very painful, but they were like kind of painful. I just would have to like lay down, my belly, they would shake my belly, they would just kind of get me to move around to get him off of his cord, because that's what we kept thinking was the problem. So that night I got off the monitor for like an hour. I took a shower. It was like my second shower that I got to have, and they let me walk around like the hall a little bit and like on this little balcony, because keep in mind I've been cooped up in this room. I haven't been outside in 2 weeks. Like I've only saw walls, a TV, and my mom and Kevin, because you can only have 2 visitors of the same people. You couldn't have different people coming in and out. And I was not getting depressed, but I was just like getting kind of over it at that point, because I'd been there for a while. So I had taken my shower. The nurse was like changing my bedding, and then we had to do this thing called a belly wipe, where they basically wipe your belly down every 6 hours when you're supposed to go get a C-section. So she did my belly wipe. She told me I needed to get another COVID test, because I'd been there a while, and I needed a new IV, and I hated getting IVs because they hurt so bad, and I always had them in my hands, and I had 4 of them when I was in there, because you know they go bad every couple of days. And my doctor had came running in the room, and she was like, what are you doing? It's past an hour. Like, we haven't had any, you know, activity from Caden for over an hour. Like, that's not okay. I need you to get on the monitor right now. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't realize it was like 1 minute over, and she was freaking out. But I was like, it's okay. Like, I understand. Like, you're just trying to keep me and Caden safe. So we had went to the bed. She had my bed made. I sat in bed. I had these like leg compression things on so I didn't get blood clots, and she put those on me, and then we were on the monitor, and then Caden started to drop again. And I was just like, man, like that day, it was June 4th. That day he had 8 D cells. So 8 times his heart rate dropped, and that was very tiring on my part. So, you know, at night they get the overnight or the night PM shift people come in, and they introduce themselves, and they hand over their shift to someone. So the doctor, my Dr. Miller, she came to this hospital. This was the hospital that was the one I got transferred to. She was at this hospital and was like, hey, I just wanted to come check on you. You know, I got sent here and for my shift, and you know, this is the physician for the night, and she just wants us to talk to you about Caden and all that, whatever. So at the time, Kevin was literally on his way with the pizza. Keep that in mind. And so we literally didn't eat pizza, just keep that in mind. The physician said, you know, like, I'm not comfortable with keeping him in any longer. We had a scheduled induction date after I'd been in for a while. The high-risk doctor scheduled me, and he said, you know, as far as I'll let you go is 37 weeks, and we'll induce you, which would have been June 20th. So I was like, you know, thinking this whole time, I have 2 weeks till he's gonna be here. I'm gonna be here another 2 weeks, which would have made it a month that I was in labor and delivery, which was totally fine as long as he was being monitored and I knew he was okay and I'm okay. Like, that's all that mattered. I didn't really care at the fact that, you know, I'm not gonna go back to work. I couldn't go finish everything I wanted to do, and I can't go outside, and I can't do all these things. It was not on my mind. My mind was set on making sure that Caden was okay, because every day it was just, I don't know what was gonna happen. And, you know, she said, I'm not comfortable with leaving him in there. I don't know the risk that we would be taking leaving him in another 2 weeks with the amount of D cells he was having. And she didn't see an issue with taking him out, because we were about to be, well, I was 34 weeks at that point. So I was admitted at 33, and I had him at 34 and 6 that next day. So she asked me, like, when was the last time you ate? And I was like, at like 5. And she's like, let's schedule a C-section for 1 a.m. And I was like, holy shit, like, are you serious? Like, I like wasn't picking up what she was putting down, and I just looked at my mom and I was like, oh my God, I just started like bawling my eyes out. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. Like, I need time to process. Like, I had like to have a moment. I just started crying, and I was like, I can't believe I'm gonna meet my baby. Like, this whole time I've been in shock that I was even pregnant, and like that I was about to have a baby, and I was so excited but so overwhelmed at the same time. So Kevin had literally walked in the door, and I had him put the pizza down. I was like, come over here. And then he was like, what? And I was like, we're gonna have a baby in like 5 hours. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, are we ready? And I was like, I don't feel like I am, because I felt like I wasn't prepared, even though we had all this time. It flew by, honestly. Like, my pregnancy flew by, but it was amazing. So, you know, time goes by, you have a pre-op, they come in, get you all set up with all these cords and stickers and everything. And, it was like 11 o'clock. My C-section was scheduled for 12. That 4 hours went by so fast with pre-op, and then having to go, knowing I had to go in like an hour, I was getting nervous. I was watching the clock. And so I laid on my side to take a nap, and I just had like the worst contraction that I had ever felt. And I was like, man, I feel like this would be a contraction that would start labor. Like, it was that painful. And he dropped so bad. His heart rate sounded like horrible. It was like, normally on the monitor, his heart rate sounds like a galloping horse, because they have just such a fast beating heart rate. And it was like, boop, boop, boop. Like, it was so slow, and I was like, oh my God. So I like laid my bed down, because I knew the own protocols in my head. Like, at that point, I knew from being there 2 weeks already, I knew what to do when it happens. Every time I'd just lay my bed down, I'd toss my belly, I'd push on my belly, I'd talk to him or whatever. And he just wasn't going back up. And I was like, Mom, you need to press my button. Like, we need to call her, because I don't hear it going back up. Me and my mom were so good at listening to him all the time that we just knew. And by the time we pushed the button, they all just came running in, and they're like, we're gonna head to the OR. And they like pressed this button on the wall, and it's like code C-section. Like, the whole labor and delivery knew like my room was going to have a C-section. Like, it was very dramatic. So they start pulling my clothes off. They have all my stuff already on, but they start hooking everything up, putting medicine in my IV, and starting to pull me out of the room on my bed. But keep in mind, I'm in a postpartum bed, not an active labor bed, because I was admitted, so they knew I wasn't gonna push. So they were like, let's put you on a more comfortable bed, which would be postpartum. Long story short, the bed was taking a bitch and a half to pull out of the room. Like, my nurse literally hurt her shoulder, and they finally ripped it out of the wall and pushed me down to the OR. And I was in the operating room, and I was just like deep breathing, like, oh my God, like, is my baby okay? Like, am I okay? Like, keep talking to me, like, you hear his heartbeat? Like, it was just, everything was going so fast. I was so overwhelmed and so anxious. Like, my hands were sweating and I was just crying. And my mom, all I remember is like my mom, you know, touching me, I think like right here, like on my arm, she's like, I love you, like you're gonna do good or whatever. And then Kevin was sleeping on the chair at that point, so they had to wake him up and suit him up to come in. And all I remember in the OR, I remember a lot in the OR actually. This is probably like the most in-depth birth story you've ever heard. But anyways, so I got in there and they like said who I was and all that and how many weeks I was. They sat me on the table and they were like, you need to like sit up, and like they started doing the spinal, which is different than an epidural. The spinal is like a quick, it's like shots. The epidural is like left in you with that like that string looking thing. I call it a catheter, but anyways, so yeah, I remember them doing it. And you know, prior to that, with the post-op, when he came in my room, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna like poke you one time and it should numb your whole body from like your chest down. And I was like, okay, like, but and when I was in the OR, he poked me 6 times, 3 on each side of my lower back. Worst pain I've ever felt. Bee stinging, pushing, pressure. It hurt so bad. I was like, oh, the whole time he's like, I need you to like breathe. You're just moaning and I need you to catch your breath and like focus. And I was like, oh my God, this hurts, this hurts. I was like, when are you gonna be done? And then he's like, we're already done numbing you. He's like, we're already getting ready to start. And I was like, wait. And he's like, what are you scared of? I was like, I'm scared you're gonna cut me and I'm gonna feel it. And obviously I didn't feel it. They laid me down and then Kevin had came in next to me and held my hand and they started, and it was so much pressure, like so much pressure, just so much pulling and tugging and pushing, and I felt like I couldn't take my breath because they were just pushing so much. And I was like, oh my God. Like, even to this day, like sometimes I'll like bend over like off the side of the bed and grab something or pick him up, and like I feel like my stomach's still sore. But I mean, it's only been 8 weeks since I've had my C-section, but yeah, so time went by, he's already out. I just wanted to know, he was screaming and I wanted to know how big he was. He was 4 pounds, 3 ounces, 17.5 inches long. He was born at 12/23, June 5th, 2021. And his due date was July 11th. So he was 6 weeks early. And he had to go to the NICU, which was okay. We already knew that it was gonna be, you know, he had to do it. We just didn't know for how long. So Kevin was like, hey, like, are you okay if I go with him? And I was like, yeah, like, go. Like, I can't go anywhere. I'm getting sewed up. And, you know, so they, you know, sent me to that postpartum, like, room for, like, 2 hours where you kind of just get unnumb and all that and get your pain under control. And I was in so much pain after the C-section. I was like, holy shit, like, this hurts really bad. And 2 hours went by and I got to go see him with Kevin and hold him for the first time, and I was just like crying my eyes out. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, you're so little, you're so cute and warm. And all I remember is going to the room, and we got sent to the room, and I don't remember like going into the room, but we went in the room, and my mom was in there. Kevin slept in the chair, my mom slept on the bed, and I was in my own bed. And I didn't sleep very well at all because I felt like I couldn't like move, so I was just like laying there like this, and I slept like that the whole time I was in the hospital with my pregnancy pillow because of the way I had to lay with him, because he kept decelling obviously. And yeah, we kept going to visit him, and then the next day they told us, you know, he had something wrong with him, with his lungs, that they weren't developed enough, and he was having breathing problems. So they did put him on a CPAP after he was on a nasal cannula for like a day. And then the doctor came in again, the NICU doctor, and he was like, you know, I want to transfer Kaden to a higher level NICU because we don't have enough care for him here. And I was like, what's wrong with him? Like, is he gonna be okay? And they were like, yeah, like his lungs are just not developed, and we found an air pocket on the outside that's making it difficult for him to breathe. So me and Kaden were both transferred to another hospital, same one, just a third one, the complete opposite way, an hour away. and I was only 24 hours postpartum, so I was in a lot of pain, and I had to take like drugs, like some serious narcotics, to go in the ambulance and ride there for an hour because of all the bumps and stuff like that. And he rode before me and I went behind him, and then Kevin was behind the ambulance with me in it. And we got to the hospital, and we had like the greatest experience of them taking care of us. And like I couldn't even thank the people enough for taking such good care of me and filling my needs and teaching me everything that I know now, and taking such good care of Caden. And like, he is literally here because of obviously us, but like, he got such good care at that hospital, and we're just super grateful. He did really good in the NICU. He was in the NICU for 21 days at that hospital. Once I was discharged from the hospital, I was like, I'm not leaving. Like, he has to stay here. We live an hour and 10 minutes away. Like, we need a trailer because they offered trailers in the parking lot at the hospital, and we have family friend from church that offered us their RV, and that's what we vlogged in. I showed you guys. We stayed in that for 18 days, and we finally got to bring him home, and it's just been like the greatest thing ever. He literally like gave us a purpose in life, and I like literally don't know what I would do if I wasn't Caden's mom. Like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's been the most amazing thing ever. Like, I don't know even how to put into words how blessed I am and how amazing it feels to be a mom. But he had CPAP the whole time, and he had a feeding tube because of him being premature. And he also had jaundice for 2 days. But other than that, that was the only thing that was really keeping him there, was getting his lungs well enough to breathe our 21% oxygen. So he pretty much only had like a little bit of oxygen on his CPAP. It was mostly pressured, helping him breathe. And then he couldn't eat from a feeding tube or he couldn't eat from my boob when he had his feeding tube in, so we had to get that out once he was well enough to not have a CPAP. So when you have a CPAP on, you can't eat anything but out of a tube because you can't do both. So we practiced breastfeeding, he practiced bottle feeding. He went from like drinking 20 ml to now drinking 110. So he's a champion, I swear, our little warrior boy. But yeah, I hope I didn't miss anything in this video. I don't think I did, but I will be filming a postpartum video probably tomorrow or the next day, but I've been wanting to film this birth story for so long. It was not how I intended on giving birth, and I really hope that next time, if I ever have another baby, like I hope I don't have to have a C-section. I would love to have my home birth that I initially wanted, have my next baby at the hospital and push the baby out and not have a C-section. They didn't completely rule that out for me, which is great, but it was just a crazy birth, you know. It was insane. It's not how I wanted it, but it's our story, and I'm super grateful that he's here, he's healthy. And we just had our 2-month checkup yesterday. He had all of his shots, and they weighed him. He weighs 7 pounds and 15 ounces, so he is doing great. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this birth story. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope it wasn't too long, but that is all the details. Babe's coming in. How are you? Is it almost done?
Yeah. You have a microphone?
I do. I don't know if you can hear it. I know, but I had to get it in the shot. I'll be here in a second. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and you guys that do subscribe to my channel, I will definitely start doing my series of sit down videos, mom videos, like a series of like postpartum and new mom things. I want to start doing all that because this is all new to me, and now that he's been home for almost 2 months, I think it's been 2 months, coming up on 2 months. It's been home a month and a half already, and I think I've got a pretty good routine down. First time seeing my channel. I've been vlogging since we've been home, and you guys kind of seen my routine a little bit, but so you don't miss out on any videos and you get a notification when I upload. I've been uploading every 3 to 4 days, so I'm on a roll, you guys, I promise. To follow me on Instagram. I'm posting on Instagram, but thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye, guys.